All right, let's get started, Kate. It's 7 a.m. in Seattle, 9 a.m. in Austin. It's time to do this.
All right, lucky us that we got the later time. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today, you're going to hear from two companies that Movability is fortunate to work with as members. I'm Kate Harrington. I'm Movability's Outreach and Engagement Manager. And before we start, a little bit about Movability. Movability is Central Texas's Transportation Management Association, and we work with employers and providers to connect employees with better commutes that take single occupancy vehicles off our roads, improve the region's health, and help employers improve recruitment and retention. This webinar came about as we began discussing what a return to work might look like and why mobility is an important part of planning for a returning workforce, and how we can help employers with those decisions. We know there's not going to be a day when everything suddenly goes back to the way it was in February, and that there are different factors that will impact commutes, from continuing to keep kids learning virtually, employees teleworking more in the future, needing flex time, to understanding that transit won't be an option that some people will be comfortable with right away. At the same time, many people in the workforce have just experienced a massive behavior shift away from their typical commute. All that means it's the perfect time to examine mobility options that are safe and flexible, so we don't see a resurgence in drive-alone commutes and even worse congestion than our cities experienced pre-COVID. Among other commute benefit tools, today you are going to hear about parking management. While that may feel counterintuitive when talking about reducing drive-alone habits, because the majority of Americans and Austinites, here where we're based this morning, still do drive alone, starting with tools that track and manage those habits helps employers work toward behavior change and incentivize new commute options. Many cities are tackling similar back-to-work challenges, and we hope that this snapshot of what Luum and Whole Foods are doing in Austin will help other employers start to plan for their commutes. It's my pleasure to introduce your speakers today, Kelly Hostetler and Anika Patel. Kelly is Director of Marketing for Luum, where she brings her experience in transportation planning and behavioral psychology to the work that Luum does with employers, helping them seamlessly incorporate transportation demand management, or TDM, into their workplace with commuter benefits and parking management tools. With data, software, and a scientific approach to behavior change, Luum helps employers reduce drive-alone commutes, which saves businesses money and makes employees happier. Anika Patel is the Transportation and Security Program Manager of Global Facilities at Whole Foods Market, where she develops, supports, and grows the Global Team Member Commute Program, Campus TDM Strategy, and Physical Security Program across Whole Foods Market's growing urban campus in Austin. And Anika used to be a colleague of mine at Movability, where she managed the Mobility Challenge program. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. We are going to reserve the last 20 minutes or so of the webinar for questions. So please do drop your questions in the Q&A feature, and make sure to indicate who your question is for. And we will get to that at the end. All right, take it away.
Excellent. Thanks for that intro, Kate. I think you really set the stage there. I know early on we had a lot of webinars in April and May. We were all planning for an imminent return. And of course, all of that has changed a lot. And the stake in the ground keeps getting moved back. Many of us now are looking at January. So this webinar was born out of a conversation with Kate and Anika about how companies are planning now and what they're doing. So today I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to talk a bit about some of the trends that we're seeing during COVID and about the return. I'll briefly talk about what commute management platforms, aka Luum, is. And then as Kate mentioned, I'll dive into a bit of the policies and technologies that employers are using and how they relate to behavioral science. And then I will pass it over to Anika for the closer, the star of the show, to talk about the Whole Foods Market case study. So keep drinking some coffee with me so we're all awake, at least by the time Anika talks. So I love this quote because I think it really captures what's happening right now. So one of the most concerning workplace issues for employees is not the physical space where they will work, but how they will get there in a post-pandemic world. This is from the JLL Workplace Experience Survey. Look it up if you haven't read it. It was a great survey. But the thing that really strikes me about this is post-pandemic. They're not talking about January or when we return. They're talking about when this point in time is over, when this pandemic ends, which is not until there's a vaccine, likely would be the trigger. And so it's talking about a long time from now. And what I think about when I read this is that the commute is forever changed. Like we're really changing the way that employers need to approach the commute. So stepping back, there's tons of survey, tons of data out there on what's happening right now, what, preparing for the future and the uncertainty. There's a lot of good stuff. I'm just going to focus on a few that have been resonant to me, but there's so much other stuff out there. So what story is this data even telling us too? That's what I want to look at. So again, from that JLL survey, they found that 34% who previously took public transit to work will seek alternate forms after, there's that word again, after the pandemic. This doesn't mean they're all going to drive necessarily. I took public transport to work. Depending on when we return, I might bike. However, it does mean we need to influence those public transit commuters who might change their mode. And we also know that even small shifts towards driving have really significant impacts on congestion. One Vanderbilt study during the spring found that in the Bay Area, if 1 in 4 public transit riders switched to driving, that would add 10 minutes onto the morning commute. And I don't know about you, but the morning commute in Seattle is a lot lighter than the evening commute in Seattle. So that's not even talking about what's going to happen in the evening. And we also know transit ridership is down. Obviously, a lot of us, like myself, are working from home right now, but it's down 75% in Austin, Houston, and Seattle as of when I put this slide together on 8/26. And we know that car traffic is rebounding much more rapidly than transit. Car traffic in Boston, for example, is already back to pre-pandemic levels. And here in Seattle, it's, I think, like 6 or 7% shy of being at pre-pandemic levels. So car traffic is rebounding when transit is not rebounding as quickly due to a whole host of reasons, partly in how we fund our transit, which I won't get on my soapbox about today because that's not what this webinar is about, but we could do a lot better job funding public transit in this country. I'll leave it at that. So what we're really seeing with the employers we work with, and a lot of this is really in the last 3-4 weeks, there's been a lot more clarity around sort of 4 workplace strategies that employers are approaching to return to work. The first one, they're never going back. So you've probably read about some of these folks in the headlines, but they've actually decided we're giving up all our office space and we're going to be a remote company forever. If you're one of those companies, I don't know why you're on this webinar because it won't apply to you. However, if you're one of the following 3, this does apply to you. So if you're partially going back, we've heard of a lot of employers who have realized telecommute is actually a pretty good thing. Maybe we should do this part-time. Let's put some formal, flexible teleworking options in place and even reduce the office space that we do have. We've also heard a lot of folks who have said, we're all going back. As soon as it is safe to do so, it's our company culture, it's our ethos, we're going back to the office, we won't have a formal teleworking part-time policy. And then of course, there's the folks who've never left. The essential workers, the healthcare workers, they never stopped commuting during this time. So I'm curious what you all, have a little reminder for myself there, poll. I'm curious what strategy you all fit into. So there should be a poll up on your screen now. So go ahead and tell us which one you are. And I'm seeing the votes come in. I'll just give it another 10 seconds. Awesome. Looks like about 80% of you have voted. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everyone. Yeah, wow. So strong majority is in that partially going back category. They're formalizing some flexible teleworking options, maybe reducing office space. A lot also in that all going back. A few of you in the never going back. So thanks for waking up so early to be here. I hope you find something useful. And very few, one never left. So let's move on here. So given that there's so many of you in that partially going back category, I think this is really important, but why invest in flexible commutes right now? And flexible is key, and we'll dive into that in a bit too. First and foremost, employee experience. Alleviate that commuter anxiety, help employees have a positive experience when they do return to work, and make flexible options available to them, they're aware of them, and they're easy to use. It's also about being more agile and data-driven. So we need data to be able to understand what's happening, how employees are commuting, and then to be able to be agile to quickly make changes in policy if needed, or communicate with team members. And then finally, optimizing your parking program. Whether you have enough parking or you're worried you don't have enough for the return to work, whatever you do have, you want to optimize it. You want to be able to better utilize those assets so that more employees are able to use them and they're full more of the time. If they're not full, then you could reduce them. So I really emphasize flexible. And many of you fit in this camp. You've all seen so many surveys, I'm sure, about this. We did a survey as part of our Luminary conference back in May. And at the time, 65% of respondents said that more than half of their workforce will continue to work remotely. And here, 60% of you said, yes, my organization is partially going back. We're going to have some formal flexible telecommute policies. And the fact is that fundamentally changes the way that companies have to approach the commute and their benefits for employees. We also did this survey back in May with the imminent return that was not so imminent. And we were looking at how commute investment priorities were changing for organizations as they focused on teleworking and flexible policies. So I'm, again, curious how this has changed and if it's changed. So yet again, I've got a poll on your screen to share the results. Are you all still focusing on telework and parking management and bike walk and employee comms? Or have those shifted yet again? So you can select multiple in this category, though I do love a good quote by Brene Brown, and she says, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have no priorities. So maybe keep it to 3. Once you select those 3, make sure you hit submit for the answers to go through. And I see about half of you voted, so I'll just give another 10, 15 seconds. Drink some coffee. All right, so I'm going to close it. So if you have some answers, click submit, and then I will share these results with everyone. Perfect. All right, sharing results. So let's see what we got here. Looks like still telework policies, which is in line with the way you answered the last question, are a big focus, as well as some of those other top hitters with communication and bike walk programming, and some focus on shuttles and carpools and van pools. That's great. Wonderful, safe way to get folks to work. All right. Come back to another poll one more time. So I'm not going to dive into these commute policies too much because Anika will take you through them with Whole Foods, and I always love a detailed case study. But these are some of the policies generally that we're seeing employers break from the status quo. They're breaking from monthly parking permits. They're moving to daily permits. And sometimes that's just for a better employee experience because they want their employees to only pay for the days they park. And given the new flexible work environment, they're only coming into work 1 or 2 days. It makes sense. Also, of course, back to that parking asset utilization, monthly parking for an employee who's only coming to work 60% of the time means that your parking space is not used 40% of the time. So a lot of folks are making that shift, which is wonderful for me to hear because we know that's also what changes behaviors and breaks commute habits. We're also seeing employers shift from first come, first serve parking to actually using daily parking reservations so that they can manage demand, so that employees know if I do need to drive today and I do need to go to the office, I have a parking space. Again, alleviating that commute anxiety. And then we're seeing a lot of people really focus on making it easy, flexible, seamless for employees to use subsidies for safe alternative modes and to make that distinction themselves. So they're saying, here's $100 a month, use that for rideshare, use that for carpool, use that for pre-tax transit benefits, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then we're also seeing a lot of focus on bike and walk programming, amenities, education, bike buddy programs, all sorts of stuff. So I think I have 2 slides here. What is a commute management platform? Well, let's break it down. Commuter, first and foremost. Sounds like someone's sound is on. There you go. Okay, first and foremost, hey, Anton, I think your sound's on. I want to go ahead and mute yourself. Awesome. So first and foremost, hey, Anton, can you hear me? Could you mute your sound? There we go. Awesome, thank you. So first and foremost, commuter, we're focusing on the person, how they get to work each day. Second is benefits, managing pre-tax, post-tax, subsidies, parking, transit benefits, all in one place, and rewarding commuters for the commutes that the employer decides they want to incentivize. Management, so wide-ranging oversight and control over every aspect of commute benefit policy, meaning you have all the levers sort of at your fingertips to change policies when you need to. And then a platform, like we truly integrate with enterprise, systems, HR, parking, single sign-on, payroll, and also all sorts of mobility providers, whether it's a rideshare, carpool platform, Strava, or a shuttle company, to bring that all into one place for the commuter experience and also for the admin experience. And we focus on enterprise and truly focusing on policy, because we know policy is what changes behaviors, policy is what shapes company culture and driving results through our partnership. And these are some of the industries that we work with, sort of healthcare, technology, universities, and also like sort of catch-all, but public agencies, nonprofits, and they're facing these challenges. And these challenges aren't unique necessarily to this time with the pandemic, but they're also exacerbated during this time. Parking demand, employee engagement and retention, administrative efficiencies, or what I call Excel hell, and then sustainability goals. And what we're seeing is that even if these challenges seem like they're in the background right now a little bit, because maybe you are working from home or they're just, you don't have as many employees commuting, they're just going to get that much worse when we do return to the office. COVID is just exacerbating these. And so if you're not planning for that now and preparing, you should be. And that's what you'll hear from Anika at Whole Foods about their program planning during this time. Oh, and a poll. I'm so glad I put these reminders. Okay, last poll here. So I'm curious, what major challenges, do these challenges resonate with you, or what major challenges do you actually see at your organization for the return to the office? And again, you can select multiple if you see a few different challenges, and then make sure, because you can select multiple, make sure you hit submit at the bottom. I love these polls. They give me a chance to drink some coffee. All right, we'll just give it another 10 seconds here. So go ahead and submit your votes. And I'm going to end the poll. Looks like share results. So it looks like the top reason here, which makes a lot of sense, is budget reduction. So you're facing budget constraints while you're trying to actually deal with exacerbated problems, needing to offer more safe options, as that was the second one, lack of safe options for employees, as well as just employee engagement and flexibility. All right. So now I'm just going to breeze through a few policies and technologies that we are seeing employers use and how those relate to science. So I'm going to start with the science. I love this study by Harvard Business School. These two professors looked at commuting specifically and applied social behavioral psychology proven sort of theories to try to change commute behavior. And ultimately what they found is that those behavioral change nudges, as we call them, didn't actually work. Turns out commute is very much a habit, and it's very hard to change because of that. What they suggest at the end is they say, okay, here's 3 things that employers can do to help shift employees away from driving alone. First and foremost, life events. So they talked about marketing commuter benefits if your office moves. Not many of us do that. Okay, but there's also new hire onboarding. We do change jobs, so that's a great opportunity. And then pandemics. I added this one because this study was done last December. But this is a huge life event for people right now. It's a life event for me and for all of you, I'm sure. So it's a great opportunity to change benefits and refresh your program. Second one is convenience. I mean, I think we all know what that means, but really truly subsidizing alternative modes, or sustainable modes as I like to call them, subsidizing sustainable modes, making them more convenient than driving alone, make it easy to get that transit pass, make it easy to submit a reimbursement for a bike share or scooter share, give priority parking to carpools. And then finally, cost, and this one's the kicker, but it's the bread and butter, it's the foundation. Make the daily cost of driving alone more apparent and real for employees. And at all costs, avoid monthly parking permits, because then you're just encouraging your employees to drive. If they've already paid for something, they're going to keep driving to make the most out of that. So real quick here, major life events is a moment to refresh benefits. This is the time that we're in now, right now. Everyone is in this. And we're seeing employers like Whole Foods do this and communicate along the way with employees when benefits change and how they're changing, and engaging employees. We have a number of customers who are actually doing rewards and challenges right now, encouraging people to bike, even though they're not coming to work. Just bike today, take a trip, and log it. So it's proven that it's a wonderful time to sort of refresh benefits and engage your employees. We're also seeing a lot of people focus on convenience to activate safe options. And many of you said that safe options was one of your challenges. So what we're seeing is a lot of people are using closed network carpooling and van pooling to match employees to get them signed up now for the return to work. And then also when we see a lot of people make it more convenient to carpool or van pool by splitting parking charges. And giving priority parking to those with carpools and van pools, or reserved parking. We're also seeing a lot of folks use subsidies, and I mentioned this briefly before, but the whole idea of here's $100 a month, and you can use this however you want for safe options that you deem safe. We have so many apps on our phone to get around. We all have our different preferences for which ones we like to use. Giving employees a subsidy per month that can only be used on those apps that are not driving alone is a wonderful way to give them that choice and that autonomy, but also feel supported and cared for, that they do have this subsidy they can use. Also, for many of you who said budget was an issue, pre-tax commuter benefits, which we literally are launching today, right now, launched live, pre-tax commuter benefits. That's a wonderful way to save costs, both for the employees who are commuting for parking or transit, and as an employer. It's a no-cost benefit, or even one that you make money off of by reduced payroll taxes if you have enough employees elect into the program. So there's options for everyone, no matter no matter what your budget is. Anika will talk a bit more about parking availability, but using parking reservations and availability for those who do have to drive, or on the days that they do need to come into work, they want to know there's a space waiting for them. Also, as an admin, you want to manage that demand. So we started doing parking reservations online. You can have a payment as well, or you can not have a payment. Again, we suggest a payment. And you can reserve a spot. And then you have that peace of mind, there's one waiting for you. Obviously, it also helps manage that demand from the employer perspective. We're also starting to let employees park off-site. So this is actually maybe a scenario where you don't have much parking and you don't want to get more parking. Good choice, but let's think long-term here. You don't want to get more parking for the return to work when employees come back. What can you do? Well, there are actually ways that you can allow your employees to park nearby lots and garages and still pay for that parking through their payroll or through a subsidy if you did offer a subsidy for parking, perhaps just when employees return at the beginning. And so there's some great technology out there that allows this. And one of the other, sort of the flip side of that technology is you can also, if you have plenty of parking and you own it, perhaps, let's say, you can actually allow other people from other employers to come park in your lot. And then you can sort of, if you encourage your employees and you reduce your own drive alone rate, you open up these spots to sell to other people on the street and make money that way. And a way, if you do lease your parking, it's a great way to return lease parking by reducing your own drive alone rate. And then my last slide, the real money slide, which is we know daily parking charges greatly reduces demand. Even a nominal amount reduces demand because of loss aversion theory. So you don't need to go with that $15 that's on the screen there. 5, 3, it'll make a difference. And it helps make the cost of driving more apparent to employees, especially when you offset that with subsidies for sustainable modes. That is the recipe for a successful TDM program. So again, I totally recommend checking out this study. It's wonderful. Harvard Business School, why it's so hard to change people's commuting behavior. You'll find it. So with that, I'll just leave you with, now is the time. If you do have employees working from home, this is a wonderful time to refresh benefits. You need to be changing policies to prepare for that flexibility, to be up there to support your employees when they do return to the office. And it's a great time to put a program in place. And if you need any more resources on return to work, you can find some at loom.com. We've kind of collated a bunch and created some of our own. And with that, I will turn it over to Anika from Whole Foods, who will take you through her case study for their Austin headquarters.
Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate it. And thanks to you and Dave and the entire Luum team and Kate and Lisa Kay and their team at Movability for hosting today's discussion. We're super excited to continue our work with both of you. We've been working with Luum for over a year, since before I joined Whole Foods Market. And this year we've really ramped up our work with them to develop our policy and technologies to support our Whole Foods Market commute program at global headquarters. And I'm excited that we are formally launching the Luum platform in hopefully early 2021. So we're working through all of that right now. We're also proud members of Movability. As Kate said, I was part of the team just last year. We as Whole Foods Market has participated in the Mayor's Mobility Challenge for a few years, and our work with Movability and their support has been really key to designing and implementing Whole Foods program, and they continue to support us. Their advocacy and leadership is really important to the region, and we thank you for your support and being an amazing resource. Our old staff photo. I will talk a little bit today about our location. We are headquartered in downtown Austin, and give you a little bit of a context of how the commute program started. I'll also speak a little bit about our business motivators, why we're putting resources towards a TDM and commute program at our global campus, and how our employees get from home to work. We call our employees team members at Whole Foods, and so you'll hear me refer to our employees as team members throughout the presentation. I'll talk about the status quo of our commute benefits and kind of the history of them and what we're currently offering and how our program is currently evolving and how we're hoping to have it evolve a little bit more. And then a roadmap of all the exciting things to come hopefully in 2021. So you can see this is a beautiful view of downtown Austin from Lady Bird Lake. It's grown tremendously over the past 10, 15 years. That red circle shows where Whole Foods Market is located. That's our main building, and I'll show you a photo of our campus here shortly. But we have, the very first Whole Foods was built just down the block from where we are now, 30 years ago. We're very proud to be a homegrown company in Austin, and we've grown literally in the exact same spot while downtown Austin has grown around us. We are literally, our main office is literally on top of a grocery store of an 80,000 square foot of our landmark Whole Foods store, which was rebuilt in 2003, I believe, which is great. It's great to be around our store team members. It's great for lunch. It's great for spending money on a lot of things we don't necessarily need, but also a little cumbersome and difficult for managing so many customers and different stakeholders that are coming to that part of downtown that we share our space with. As many of you probably know, Austin was a small city, a small town that became a pretty big city pretty quickly. Density's increased. The region has definitely focused on mitigation efforts, mitigation for congestion, and just building out a comprehensive transportation system. But my opinion that we're still a little bit behind. Of course, thanks to groups like Movability and their advocacy efforts, we're moving towards in the right direction slowly. But there is, of course, we're a growing, healthy, vibrant city, so there are traffic and parking challenges. And as an employer, right, we can certainly advocate for that, but we are trying to offset it for our team members and our employees and our stakeholders. Everyone knows the INRIC study that ranked Austin as, I think, the 18th worst city for congestion and traffic in the country. We see it every day. We don't necessarily need a study to confirm that, and we hear it from employees and employers and everyone that uses our transportation system. Capital Metro, our transit system, is a great partner. They were excited for Project Connect to hit the ballot this year, but there's certainly not enough mass transportation options to make it competitive with driving alone to work right now. We're on the edge of, Kelly, next slide, please. We're on the edge. This is an aerial view of our campus. We're quite spread out. I think we are unique in that we have a campus in an urban downtown environment. So you can see our buildings highlighted here. We have 8 total buildings. We're finishing building 1 out right now, but we have 8 total buildings in Austin, 5 in downtown. And you can see some of the parking garages highlighted. I think we have 1, 2, 3, like 6 parking garages. So we're definitely spread out. Our main building is right there in the building on top of the store. There's a surface parking lot that serves our customers. But with over 1,600 team members at global headquarters and being spread out not only within the downtown campus, but then with other buildings in the city, it does make it a little difficult to build a really, super successful commuter benefits program. So, we have some of our parking garages are owned, some are leased. I sit on the global facilities team, and from an operations and facilities standpoint, we own some of our garages, we lease some of our garages, and we have a lot of oversight over our garages. We don't have a third-party operator. As Kate mentioned, I also help manage our corporate security, physical security program for the campus. So we work with a third-party security team to do our parking enforcement right now. So with that oversight comes, again, opportunities and challenges spread out, around our campus. In 2019, Whole Foods Market saw tremendous growth as a company, and pre-COVID, I think I have this number correct, our annual growth rate was about 4 to 5%. So we know that based on survey data, what our drive alone rate is, it's about 80% right now. And if that drive alone rate stays the same in 1, 3, 5, 10 years, we're going to have to add a significant amount of parking spaces to accommodate that mode split every year, which we don't want to do and we know is not the best option. Historically, as a company, I'll talk about our commuter benefits. I think Whole Foods has done, has built a great program so far compared to other companies in Austin. And I have that experience with my time at Movability, working with many other companies. But historically, we've been focused on balancing and potentially sometimes increasing our parking supply versus reducing demand. So we're trying to shift those priorities right now. We are an Amazon company. Whole Foods was acquired by Amazon in 2017. We do not have a big influence from Amazon and certainly on this program, but they are certainly a resource. We do, talk with them, and of course they are also a Luum customer, and I know that they have found success with Luum. So we have been able to benefit off of a lot of the features and the innovations that Luum has, that they've created with, throughout their time with Amazon. Of course, they do it on a much larger scale with their employee count and in a much more dense area in Seattle than we have in Austin. We have our own core values and our own mission that drive our decisions surrounding commute. Again, the scale we operate at right now is much smaller because we're just focused, my position right now is mostly focused on our global headquarters in Austin. So we operate pretty autonomously, and our commute story is still being written, as you'll hear. Our program at Whole Foods has had really humble beginnings. It was started by a dedicated group of volunteers years ago, some of whom are still at Whole Foods Market, and I have the pleasure of working with and hearing and understanding the historical context. And they have literally been running the program, I think, until the last 2 years when I was hired at the end of 2019, in the fall of 2019, and prior to that, my team, the global facilities team, was managing the commute program. Our leadership saw a need that, with our growth and with our real estate analysis, that we needed to focus on this and make this a priority. Our leadership pushed for a position to get ahead of the issue, put a full program into place, identify the gaps, create a program, offset the issues. And this is all, to meet a variety of goals that are important to us as a company, to our core values, to team member happiness, and to remaining competitive in the Austin market. Our mission, Whole Foods Market's mission is to nourish people and the planet. And my team, the Global Facilities team, Global Workplace Experience, has a parallel mission to that, to take care of our people. Of course, Whole Foods Market is a grocery store. We are, our priority is our customers, and our priority for my team is our customer is the employee, is the team member. So for our executive team is to take care of our people. And then our value proposition for my team is that we're devoted to taking care of our people through a conscientious focus on an exceptional team member workplace experience, which is built upon the 3 pillars that you see on the screen: promoting wellness, enhancing productivity, and fostering cultures. And these 3 pillars translate to our business motivators. They drive everything that we do. So discussing kind of the 3 business motivators, promoting wellness. Whole Foods has, our ethos is to, we have a strong mission linked to the health of all of our stakeholders, to our growing partners, to our customers, and to our team members. Employee wellness includes healthy bodies, healthy minds, and a healthy environment, which again is really critical to our entire ethos, our company's ethos. And seeing this, this pillar, obviously, as many of us know, in TDM relates directly to TDM and commuting to work, right? It's the first part, it's the start of our day and the end of our day, and we want people to show up in a great mindset when they arrive to the office to start their day. And certainly it is an indicator for a motivator for reducing our drive-alone rate at Whole Foods. We've been working with Movability for the past many years. We also worked with a transportation consultant, so we've done some surveys, and we're still using that survey data. Years ago, when we did the last survey, or actually not years ago, a couple of years ago, we found that almost half of our team members had a less than positive experience with their commute, self-reported. So this is a great data point, right, to again support the creation of the program, to formalize a position, to focus on the program, and to understand that you know, we didn't know before we did the survey that that team members were necessarily not happy with their commute, right? We all know that lost time equals lost productivity, whether it's their experience getting to our campus or moving around our campus, circling the parking garages, looking for a parking space, or walking, you know, half a mile from the bus stop, or not being able to find bike parking. We know that that the commute has a big impact on people's attitudes. We are impacted at Whole Foods by our spread out campus, by our geography, our one-way streets. We have pedestrian access issues that we are also tackling. And when team members show up to work, you know, angry or stressed and have to spend extra time getting to their desk, that's lost productivity. So we are continuing to understand how to make that commute better and better understand where to use our funds to make that investment for the best ROI. This is our co-founder and CEO of Whole Foods, John Mackey. We have always put, and the company has always put an enormous value on team member experience. Again, we have a culture of providing a stellar team member experience and customer experience for our customers. And part of that is this culture of providing a parking ratio that meets the demand for our team member population. In Austin, to remain competitive still against the other companies, local companies, not local companies, but big companies, whom I won't mention, who are still also providing subsidized, fully subsidized or partially subsidized parking. That's a key recruiting piece here in Austin. So, but we've grown rapidly. So providing that parking ratio has become a little unrealistic. And instead of eroding the culture by saying, we can't guarantee this to you as a new team member, we're working to create a program that keeps everybody happy and provides options and flexibility. And acknowledging that culture is really important because we know, I've actually, this was talked about in another Luum webinar, that we know incentives don't necessarily drive behavior change, but we know that we have to figure out what will drive behavior culturally. And so acknowledging, again, our culture at Whole Foods and the strength of our culture and how deep our culture bank is really important. And as a fairly new employee at Whole Foods Market, I'm still learning that culture as well. So, you know, coming to work for our team means starting with the commute, again, and everything we do is about providing that great employee experience, being homegrown, remaining competitive to retain and attract top talent. We're trying to balance that ratio of providing free parking and other benefits. So we talked in the last couple of days about that front door to desk experience and getting people to work happy. So using those three pillars as our framework, the first thing that we did when this position was created and the program was formalized was to kind of do a scan of our existing commute benefits, our policies, our programs, who we partner with within the company. So that's what I've been doing, is kind of had a pretty healthy discovery period. Pre-COVID, I started in October, COVID-19 hit in March, and so for the first 6 months was really understanding our status quo, policies, and programs. The approach for the role is to understand, manage, and influence. I think we're in the understand and manage piece right now. Some benefits that we provide to our team members are obvious to them, like the subsidized parking, while others are underutilized, like our subsidized transit pass program and our Lyft first mile, last mile program. When we surveyed employees, 30% did not know what benefits were available to them. And during my time here at Whole Foods Market, I've spoken to quite a few existing team members, new team members who did not know that these programs existed either. So I believe that 30% is actually higher, which gives me good work to do, and I can understand where to get started. So, so that discovery period and that scan really helped us create a snapshot of what we needed to understand, where we wanted to head, identify how, it was important to me to identify near-term quick wins for our team, especially having this be a new position for the company, which is a big deal. Not many companies have a dedicated transportation and TDM person. And then look at a long-term strategy. When we learned that not all of our team members knew what benefits were available to them, we understood, obviously, and this is ongoing for any company, any program, that we needed to really focus on education and communication and marketing for what we currently had in place. We recently launched a new SharePoint page, which is like our team member portal, internal portal or intranet, so TMs can easily access everything related now to our commuter program and parking program, which includes maps, benefits, parking applications. And then soon, right now, we're working with Luum, and so soon we'll be launching the Luum platform, which will also serve as our one-stop shop for all active commuters, where all of our resources and employees can learn about their options. And this has been really important to us on the global facilities team. We've dedicated a lot of time to it. So some of the things that we figured out we wanted to do better and introduce. Of course, partnering with Luum is a big part of that strategy. We, again, as I mentioned, we were volunteer run. We did have dedicated some staff on our global facilities team prior to my arrival working on some of these programs, but it was fairly spread out. So being able to work with Luum will create that centralized hub for information. We have, in our conversations with Luum and Movability, we understand now that we can send, which is part of our plan, to send relevant messaging to commuters based on the mode they take to work. We do have people that bike and people that walk, people that carpool to work, but we don't know who they all are right now. And once we gather that data, we can have some really great tailored messaging to them. We've been working with the recruiting team and our HR team, our team member services team, to make sure that we're reaching out to employees, to team members right when they start. Of course, that's the best time to reach them while they're exploring how they'll commute, whether they're moving here from out of the city or out of state, or still local. Everyone's commutes change when they change jobs. So a really key part of the position is developing those relationships with the recruiting team, HR, our office team, and making sure that they are all pivotal to they're ambassadors for the program, and they can share the information. So really excited to get Luum started, and they can do all those. Dave can set up all those automatic emails for me, make things easier. Transit passes, we do have, we have a group of dedicated team members right now that do take transit to work. We offer subsidized Cap Metro passes in bulk. We split the cost right now with our team members who want to purchase them. This is a great example of how commute policy and how processes matter. The number of TMs that currently take transit to work and buy transit passes is fairly low. I'd say we've been tracking it less than 100 people right now, but I don't actually have a great way of knowing exactly how many people are taking transit, and I'll use myself as an example. The process right now, partly because of the way our process works, and partly because of Cap Metro's limitations, it's a little cumbersome and inefficient right now for team members to buy passes. They have to come in person to one of our reception desks on our campus to buy a pass in person, and pay their share, and then we upload the pass either to the app or give them a hard copy. Using myself as an example, since starting in October 2019, I had been taking the bus to work pre-COVID, and it was easier for me to just buy my own pass on my app, and the one-way fare is fairly inexpensive here in Austin, so I just bought my own pass. So, and that's not captured anywhere that I have been taking transit to work. So, we're definitely, that's going to be a big priority, is to change that process. And again, with Luum's help, we'll be able to automate all of that through the app, because encouraging transit use is a key tenet of our policy. We're hoping to return to work in early 2021. We know that some employees may not feel comfortable taking mass transit or traveling in groups. So we're focusing on modes that typically take more time to plan and manage. We have not focused on carpooling in the past, but we'll certainly focus on it now within a closed network for Whole Foods, and certainly active transportation like walking. promoting bike riding. We have made significant investments in the bike culture and bike amenities at Whole Foods. We had 3 showers in our main building, and we built 5 private showers this last year. We opened a 120 bike secure bike parking facility called the Wheelhouse. And so we want to capture the data, right? We want to know who's using all of these amenities and make sure people know about that. You know, we have bike parking elsewhere all over campus too, but we want to make sure to promote that and track who's biking. I'm going to start speeding through this since we only have a few minutes left. We do currently offer fully subsidized parking, and right now for the near term, we absolutely will continue to do that, but with one caveat. We are making, again, significant tech investments, not only in the Luum platform, but we are also installing RFID readers onto our garages across campus. We do not have any infrastructure right now, like gates for people to go in and out. And so our next big priority is to understand our parking numbers, our utilization, and with Luum's help again, and the RFID readers will be able to do that. So, you know, understanding that data is a big piece of the puzzle. Again, we loosely know our utilization rates thanks to our physical security team does enforcement on foot. So we know the garages fill up, but we don't know when. We don't know if they remain full throughout the day. We don't know, we don't frankly know if they are full. As you saw, we have many garages and they're spread out. Employees will be able to use the Luum app to determine whether a spot is available and where it's available before they even arrive on campus, which will hopefully reduce their stress level and will provide a great team member experience, and then also reduce some of the congestion of just traveling around our campus to go to different garages to find a spot. I spoke just now about our brand new Wheelhouse bike parking facility. Again, tracking these commuter program investments, making sure that they were a great use of our funds, and then potentially, right, building that budget out. You know, these infrastructure program investments were successful. And then lastly, of course, we're all wondering what the new normal is going to be post-COVID. You know, we are a 95,000 person company. 90,000 of our team members are essential workers and have been working in the stores. And so it is part of our culture and our executive leadership. You know, we will definitely be returning to work on campus. Certainly, we don't know, more people may drive, more people may decide to work from home a couple days a week. We don't know how this is going to affect our parking numbers. And we have been kind of trying to make those assessments right now. You know, during COVID, it's been a really great time for us to bring the Luum platform on board and to reassess our policies and programs and kind of re-engineer what we're doing, because we have time to do it right now. So we're hoping that we are ready to go with the Luum platform and some new processes in 2021 when we return to work. My manager Heather is on the presentation too, and she's been closely monitoring a lot of our assets. We did recently return some, we have some parking on campus that had a short-term lease, and we were able to return that parking because of course it's been sitting empty this whole time. So again, so constantly re-engineering is really part of what we're doing. Kelly, do you want me to talk about all the RFID readers, or do you want to? This just kind of talks about some of the RFID technology that we are implementing. We again looked at different solutions, gates, fixed and mobile LPR, which is pretty expensive. And with Luum's help, we decided to choose RFID readers as a low-cost solution. And then here's the flow of how those readers work. You can see employees will request a parking pass through the Luum platform. They'll get a windshield tag, similar to a toll tag technology. We're installing the readers at garages. Data is sent over a cell network, and then it will hopefully not here in the Luum platform, and we'll get all this really valuable data that helps us to understand our parking events on campus and provide a really great experience for our TMs as well, and give us real-time data. And then just to close, you know, we all know that you need data and engage employees to make these things happen. regardless of what happens with COVID, we know we needed to collect data and centralize our commute program resources. Again, with Luum's help, I'm super excited to have everything, have a one-stop shop and a centralized hub, and get our hands on that data over the next year to re-strategize and build out our program. Without the data, we can't strategically get people to change behavior. So we're trying to design this program now, a flexible program that we may have to change when our team members return to work. So this is on the Whole Foods website. Throughout Whole Foods history, challenging times have been a catalyst for growth and reinvention, and that certainly applies to everybody right now. So we're hoping to make the most of what we've been able to do during this time and be ready for that growth and reinvention when we come back to work. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few minutes for Q&A, so I'm just going to launch into those real quick. First one from Sarah. I'm curious if there are any city TDM requirements Whole Foods is subject to and what they are. Have those city requirements been helpful to advance TDM strategies? And do you have any other commentary related to top-down requirements?
That was a long question. Can you it was about city requirements, Kate?
Yeah, just to summarize, are there any Austin TDM requirements that Whole Foods is subject to that are shaping your policies? And
not right now, and Lisa Kay would probably be a better person to talk about that, but not right now. Not that has affected us or myself in the time that I've been in this role. Certainly, as our campus grows and as we potentially build new buildings, that will be. I'm certain that there are. I don't know where the city is right now with their TDM requirements, but I believe that they're being built out. And so, again, potentially with the building of a new building, we would be subject to those. But I hope we have some TDM requirements soon in the city.
I'll just leave it on that one real quick. We do not have citywide TDM requirements. Part of that is because our air quality has kicked in some of those requirements, but the city is really starting to bolster its TDM program, and it's recently passed a new mobility plan that aims for really robust mode split in the future. So we might see more of that coming down the road. Secondly, and I think this is aimed at Anika, are you making any changes to your bike commute program?
We're not making any significant changes right now, except for, I spoke a little bit about the significant infrastructure investments that we made as a company in the last year. And I'm just hoping to promote those amenities that are on campus. And then, once we have Luum, once we start engaging with our team members through the Luum platform, we can better understand how many team members are biking to work and build, challenges and programs to get our potential bike riders and existing bike riders better engaged. It's definitely something that I want to focus on, quite a bit, and I think we have a really healthy bike commute population in Austin, and so definitely looking to increase that. Hopefully Bike to Work Day comes back, and of course everyone knows that bike purchases have gone through the roof right around the country, and so we are planning to have a kind of a Bike 101 webinar in the next 2 months. The weather is not cooling down yet. I was going to say the weather's starting to cool down in Austin, but it's not. So, but more people will hopefully start riding. And I want to do a Bike 101 class, right, for folks that are interested in riding but need some help. And we'll definitely already speaking to Smart Trips, Lonnie. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'm sorry, Kelly and Anika, I have somehow lost my view of the Q&A. So I don't know if any other panelists can see the remaining questions there. I'm sorry, I don't know why it just disappeared on me.
Yeah, I can see some here. So the question from Casey, is there a sentiment among employees or companies that transit isn't a safe commute mode due to COVID? And if so, is there any education on the safety of transit? And what does that look like? I mean, I would say that there's a perception with some employees that it's not safe, which is just due to like being close to other people. But I think a lot of transit agencies and a lot of organizations are helping alleviate that, lack of that fear of public transit. And I know transit agencies across the country are doing so much around cleaning and mask wearing and all sorts of stuff. So I hope that by the time we do return to work, that sentiment will have gone away mostly. I don't know if you have anything to add, Anika.
I don't. I would echo the same thing, right? I've been keeping track of that, and I hope that, I assume that there will be a change and there will be some stigma. Alani is sending a lot of great resources right now in the chat, but I certainly think that some people will be averse to taking it maybe at the beginning. I'm really excited to get back on Cap Metro buses to get to work. So I think it's all of our responsibilities to change that conversation and to promote what our transit agencies around the country are doing to keep their customers and all of our stakeholders safe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got it back. We are at time now, so I think let's do one more question and then we'll let you all get on with your days. This is from Kim Johnson. Does Whole Foods have a similar program in other cities, similar to the one in Austin? And if so, do those depend on ordinance requirements?
Sure. So we do have regions all across the country. My position and my role is right now focused on our global support offices, our global headquarters in Austin. My team, the global facilities team, has been working with regions, their corporate offices. I've worked with a few of our regions in the Pacific Northwest, in Seattle, and Atlanta, as they're moving offices to help understand their commute needs and commute options. So we are slowly starting to build out to the regions. My position and on my program right now does not touch the store team members. During COVID, I have been focused on helping our store team members get to work with COVID and reductions with transit service and reductions in, with ridership and operations and increasing operations costs. Service has been reduced, and so we implemented a contingency plan with Lyft to get a lot of our team members around the country to work. But I'm slowly starting to understand what all of our different regions are doing. And yes, absolutely, there are state and city ordinances that affect a lot of our regions in California and elsewhere that I am starting to wrap my head around. But it's all part of the plan.
All right. So with that, I see that Anika and Kelly's information is up on the screen. Please do feel free to reach out to them with more questions, and of course reach out to us at Movability, movabilitytx.org, for any more information on our TMA and TDM in Central Texas. And I don't want to cut any other panelists off, but I think we're ready to wrap it up. And thank you all so much for joining us. I hope this has been helpful and informative.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you, Kate. Nika.
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.